Before beginning today's board meeting, I'd also like to state that our board is dedicated to providing safe, dependable, and affordable water supply now and into the future. At this time, we'd like to share a brief recording with reminders on public participation as well as virtual regulations for board members as required by law.
Materials for this meeting under HRS Section 92-7.5 are accessible at boardofwatersupply.com/boardmeetings. The public may attend this meeting in person at the BWS Public Service Building, located at 630 South Beretania Street. The public may also view a live stream of today's meeting on our website at boardofwatersupply.com/live. We have been accepting written or oral testimony for today's meeting. Instructions and an online submittal form are available at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony. The deadline to submit advanced written testimony has passed. Testimony received by noon today have been distributed to the board members. We will continue to accept written testimony today through our online form. Oral testimony in person or remotely will be accepted during today's meeting. To facilitate as much in-person and remote testimony as reasonably possible during the time allotted, pre-registration and submittal of a written version of testimony at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony is strongly encouraged. To testify in person, please register using our online form or come to the Public Service Building at 630 South Beretania Street. We have a representative in the lobby to provide intake and further instructions. To request to testify remotely, please complete the online form at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony. Requesters will receive an email containing links and instructions to join the Zoom session. Testifiers will have 2 minutes to state their position. A timekeeper will alert testifiers when there is 1 minute remaining. Once the 2 minutes are up, please summarize to allow time for questions from the board. Then, make room for the next testifier. Board members attending any board meeting remotely must be visible to the public to be considered present and meet quorum guidelines. Board members participating remotely must also disclose their location and anyone present at their location during roll call. Meeting participants who are calling or video conferencing in, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. If you have a question, comment, or wish to enter or second a motion on an action item, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself before continuing to speak. If you encounter technical issues during today's meeting, please use the Zoom chat to send a direct message to our support team. Their names are listed in the message to all participants. To open the chat window, please click on the text bubble icon on the Zoom toolbar.
With that, I'd like to take a moment to take a roll call of all the board members. When I call your name, please say aye, and if attending remotely, make the appropriate disclosures. We're going to start in the boardroom since it's a short list. Board member Jonathan Kanashiro.
Here.
Okay, joining us virtually, board member Brian Andaya.
Hi, I'm in my office alone.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Board member Gina Bono.
I'm also in my office alone.
Okay, and this is Naalehu Anthony. I am in an office alone as well. Thank you, everyone. Also in the room today, we have Deputy Manager Erwin Kawata.
Here.
Board Secretary Joy Cruz Achiu.
Here.
Manager Secretary Kim Kauai.
Here.
Information Specialists Stephen Nordstrom and Wayne Maria.
Here.
Okay, joining us by Zoom today are Jeff Rao and Jessica Wong, both from the City and County Corp Council. And we have only 2 items for action in our agenda today. So quickly moving into our items requiring board action. Number 1, the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held December 18th, 2023. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. This is Brian Andaya.
Second.
Thank you. There's Brian for moving the motion, and I believe there's Jonathan to second the motion. Are there any corrections, additions, amendments, or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone not in favor say nay. Okay, thank you. Please note for the record, motion passes. Moving on, adoption of resolution number 978-2024, acceptance of gifts to the Board of Water Supply. from various donors in support of the 2024 Water Conservation Week. Chair recognizes Kathleen Elliott Pahinui. Hello, Kathleen.
Mahalo, Chair, board members, Deputy Manager, thank you so much. This is our annual request to the board to accept the gifts for various donations in support of our 2024 Water Conservation Week program. As we always like to read into the record the donors and the amount that they were contributing. Friends of Palava Xeriscape Garden, $2,000. Sodexo refreshments for the award ceremony, $4,000. Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union, $2,000. Aloha Pacific Federal Credit Union, $2,000. Alexander and Baldwin, $1,000. Hawaii Energy, $1,000. Asia Hawaii, $1,000. And Times Supermarket, $1,000. This is for a total of $14,000. This helps support our well-established education outreach, which is in its 45th year of existence. And we use both poster and poetry to engage Oahu students in grades kindergarten through 12 to teach them the value of water. Our goal is to instill in them the need to be water efficient, as together everyone contributes to a larger island-wide commitment to a sustainable water future. Through this program, BWS hopes to inspire more island residents to adopt water conserving behavior. The gifts will help BWS offset program costs that include the printing of 20,000 copies of the 2025 Water Conservation Calendar that will feature the many entries from 2024. At this time, we deeply appreciate the board's continued support of this program, and we respectfully request that the board accept these gifts as required. Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Okay,
Second, this is Brian.
okay. That was moved by John and second by Brian. Any discussion, amendments? Hearing none. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Board Member Brian Ataya,
Aye.
Board Member Jonathan Kanashiro,
Aye.
Board Member Gino Ano,
Aye.
Chair Nalegu Anthony.
Aye.
Chair, motion passes with 4 ayes.
Thank you. Please note for the record. Okay, moving right along here. Items for information. Number 1, update on the Board of Water Supply's response to potential impacts of the Red Hill fuel contamination. Chair recognizes Joyce Lynn. Hello, Joyce.
Board members, and the manager. This is your January 2024 Red Hill update. As we know, last December, the Joint Task Force finished the first phase of gravity defueling. They removed over 104.6 million gallons of fuel from the Red Hill tanks. And as of last week, the 15th, they began the second phase of draining the residual fuel within the pipeline and valves. And they are expected to finish by March 2024, and at which time they will transition from the Joint Task Force Red Hill to the Navy Closure Task Force. The remaining 4,000 gallons of residual fuel and 28,000 gallons of sludge will be removed by the Navy's Closure Task Force. On the left is a very little bit of a complex integrated master schedule, which by the Navy Closure Task Force. And based on this schedule, the latest they are planning for the pipeline construction and final refueling of all the sludge and remaining fuel by the end of November 2027, and tentatively the closure of the facility in July of 2028. Upcoming events that we're looking forward to, we sent out invitations to the EPA and the OH for them to attend our February board meeting. And apologies for the typo there. The board meeting is actually scheduled for February 26, 2024. And we continue to be on the lookout for updates on the closure plans and remediation efforts on Red Hill. This concludes my presentation for Red Hill. Any questions?
Thank you, Joyce. Members, any questions? Okay, thank you so much, Joyce. Joy, do we have any in-person testimony?
Yes, Karen.
Hi, Susan.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here today
Sorry about
to
that.
share my findings. And I'm calling my presentation Unsafe Waters. I do want to let you know that I'm only presenting my data at the Board of Water Supply. So, and probably one day I'll use the screen here instead of doing this stuff, yeah? Okay, so we're gonna start off with, as I've done previously, I've extracted all the data from their own website to make it visually acceptable. My parameters this time, as far as getting the data, was still January through November 30th, since that was the last date of their input. And this time we have detections of petroleum hydrocarbons diesel and petroleum hydrocarbons oil. So there is a way to pull that data. It's just that you have to do a little of your own calculations. So everything that you're seeing here, all these numbers are that. I've only done 3 zones. I'm saving things for another month. And it would be D2 Hickam, F1 the Navy Exchange, F2 Catlin Park. I have also done this for all of the zones. The highest TPH is 256 and the lowest was 105. D2 had the homes that were hit the hardest, and you can see these are all the addresses and these are the dates and the months that they fell into. And I told you before that I look for clusters now. I'm not looking for data points. The graphs depict a sort by data and a sort by address. F1, this is the NEX, that's the Navy Exchange. So there's a lot of stores inside of there. There's a commissary and there's the Honolulu shopping center. And all of this is on the board, not the Board of Water Supply, the Navy distribution center system. So this selection shows an interesting pattern. In August, 2 homes were tested twice and flushed. The decrease, if you look at this on your page here, those little things there, so that you can see actually how they pan out. This is the map. And I think when I sent this in, you'd see the map looking like this with pink outlines. So that's where these findings were taken from. So as I was talking about F1 and the patterns, in the month of August, two addresses were tested 2 times on the same day. So the first one, just as an example, was Fuqua Lane. First test was 108. The second test was 106.2. So of course the water is safe. And the largest hit on August 30th was Taylor Street with 256, but they didn't bother to do a second test. So now we're going to F2, right here. On the totally right side of that graph, you can see where all the hits were happening in that latter area. And they were also hit hard. There were a total of 23 samples, the high of 239.1 in 2 different addresses. The total TPH frequency for all of the zones, not just 3, was 123, with several homes sampled more than 1 time. As I said before, the high was 256, the low was 105. The average was 154.6, median 150.5, mode 144. So the graph analysis, all of this is from January to November 30th. I have to say this is absolutely wrong. And then if you did you guys get this sheet, the very last sheet?
Yes.
But this is one of Ernie's letters. to Department of Health. He requests that the DOH reconsider and reinstate the 100 parts per billion and 160 parts per billion EAL values. The 100 parts per billion represents the taste and odor threshold environmental action limit. The 160 parts per billion indicates the drinking water toxicity EAL of 160 ppb. So in the interest of why I did all of these numbers, it's to indicate that we're not going to look at 266. Let's just look at all the findings that are back in the day when people were having tests, and all of these are above, well, not all of them, okay, but a large majority of them are above the earlier recommendations of the Board of Water Supply and continuous letters to the Department of Health to revise, to reconsider, and the rest of this I'll save till next month. Any clarifying questions?
If you could, Susan, can you stay right there for a minute? I have a couple of questions. Actually, the first one, and Erwin, I'm not sure if you have the copy of the packet in front of you, but it looks like this was a letter. And it has Dr. Bruce Anderson, July 19, 2018, at the header. And maybe I can just work through this with you in case you don't have it, but my understanding, right, is that the DOH relaxed EALs, raising them to 500 parts per billion for TPH in the fall of 17. Is that correct? Is that about right?
That's correct.
And before that, it was 160 parts per billion, right? That's what, Susan, that's what you're getting at?
Yeah, the taste and odor was 100 and the toxicity level was 160. That's correct. Prior to that.
Right. And so, right. So all of these values that Susan is pointing out, I'm just scrolling through here, like almost all of them are above the taste and odor threshold that we're talking about.
Correct.
And then the challenge here is that really the EPA has not come in with its MCL. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
That's the discussion that we're trying to have at some point, either the next meeting or the meeting after.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I just, Susan, I want to say thank you for your work in this, and that it doesn't go unnoticed. And I'm really just as a water drinker myself, not only a board member, just really thankful that you come out every meeting and you share these with us. They're really helpful that you collate them the way you do and point out these different spikes. I've had a number of discussions internally about why these might occur. I mean, obviously this isn't our water system, and so we don't have the kind of jurisdiction that is necessary to track everything, but we are really interested in this, especially as a test to what happens to these water systems after they've been contaminated, and whether or not you can truly get rid of the contaminants to a level that is safe for human consumption. Members, do you have any other questions?
Chair, I have a question.
Chair recognizes Board Member Kaneshiro.
Thank you. I see that. I'm just looking at like second graphs, like so for example, it's P2 with you have all the on the x-axis is different attributes.
Hold on. You said E2.
Yeah, page 10, for example.
Is it the one for dates or is it one for addresses?
Attributes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so what is the, just for, so I can understand more clearly, what is the date on this graph?
That's why I gave you
Oh, that's
this.
on paper.
So the date on the graph are what I found between January and November 30th.
Okay.
So I did almost a whole year. And the reason I started this was because of all the complaints that started in October. So this also gives you information of where these complaints were coming in. D2 had it the worst, but you can see all the dates, and I purposely put the dates there so that you could see over time between October and November, when these complaints were coming in, maybe September. That's where I started with this, and then I decided to go back a whole year and make it just more information. Sometimes more information is better.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. So these correlate to the date
Uh-huh.
of this year.
Definitely.
Okay.
So you'll see some same addresses maybe in November, and they got tested. They'll get the same address again, maybe before, prior to October, or so they continue to test the when they do the test, when you see the double test, you'll see that they flush probably, but the TPH doesn't decrease enough for us to feel really comfortable. It's not like a big decrease, but more importantly is that they're only recognizing the diesel, and now we've got the diesel plus oil. So now I'm not gonna try and assume anything, but now we gotta talk about what's happening. Now we got diesel and oil, and we can't clean the pipes.
Susan, I just have one more question for you, since you're in the room, you didn't run away just yet.
No, I'm gonna listen to the audio. The
In your
people that come on.
experience, how long does it take for the Navy's reporting to get to you? In your experience?
Okay, they did the long-term monitoring for period 6, which is supposed to end at the end of December, but there's no December samples. And remember, all of these samples are pretty much random. They're only 5%. So their data is going to shift around. So it's better to look at a year and maybe find similar addresses coming up. So I haven't seen anything for December. That's why this ends in November.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Susan. Madam Secretary, do we have anyone online for testimony today for item number 1?
Yes, Chair, we have Meredith Wilson.
Okay, good afternoon, Meredith. Thank you for joining us. You can go ahead and unmute and start your testimony.
Thank you. It's good to see you guys again. I just wanted to first of all mahalo you for not being into the idea of turning back on Halava Shaft for just a big amount of funds. I did read that, and I was appreciative that you are understanding that we don't understand the contamination extent. And I also appreciated Manager Lau's comment to HPR that since Red Hill is no longer planned to be in use, I don't understand why things are still coming to you guys redacted in the matter of national defense. If it's no longer being used or it's no longer necessary for Pacific interest, then why is it still being, clouded, as in for information sharing? I do want to ask a question. There is a lot of confusion, at least from the public side, and I even follow it closely, about how defueling will transition to a closure task force. I do know that Manager Lau was a part of the DISF, the Defueling Information Sharing Forum. Does anyone know if that will continue since it's technically turning into closure? I've only seen a couple of meeting notes from those interactions, and I'm also curious how it differs from the Red Hill remediation roundtable. I'm guessing closure versus all the after actions after it's closed. But if I could get some clarity on those two entities, that would be helpful. And then to just build on what Susan talked about, there was an Office of Inspector General from the EPA report done in April of 2023. I do recommend checking it out. It's very clear that the EPA says that State Department of Health for Hawaii does not communicate clearly their findings, their potential health effects for drinking water. So when you have the entity that oversees the DOH saying that they're just not cutting it, that's not being addressed. So I'm very excited to see that they're going to come and talk, both agencies next month. They state that the flow optimization model has serious problems, which it looks like in the notes from last month you guys talked about. I'm curious how that's going to be addressed. And then why I mentioned Susan is also from period 6, I did my own, because this is what we have to do. None of the information is clear and understandable to the public. Did my own spreadsheet, old school style. And just in period 6, 61% of the samples detected TPH. Yes, that is under the EAL, but I'm really, really frustrated that we still get told that there are 0 detections of JP5. It's all about language. That is just not the case. There are still things that are in the water that are concerning. So out of 1,500 samples, 986 had TPH, and you cannot find that information off of their Safe Waters website. You have to go into each raw data PDF and calculate it on your own. On the Safe Waters website, you can only look up TPH G, O, and D. So I would request if you guys can ask the Navy to make TPH a filter, because you have to do it on your own, and that's just not fair. I think that is my last thing. I'm just really interested to see what DOH and EPA have to say next month, since, you are kind of at their will, and so are all of us. And so when it comes to EALs and when it comes to health and human safety, it's pretty concerning still that nothing has changed in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith, for your time today. Members, any questions? Okay, hearing none. Meredith, I'm wondering if you could email the letter that you referenced from April of 2023 from the EPA Inspector General over to staff.
Sure.
If you email it to the link to submit testimony, we'll get it. I'd just like to take a look at that, just so I don't have to go.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having attention.
You're welcome.
Yep. Madam Secretary, do we have one more for online testimony?
Yes, Chair, we have JD Summit.
Okay. Thank you so much. Chair recognizes Jamie Simic via Zoom. Go ahead and unmute and start when you're ready.
I appreciate you for having me. I am coming to you again on behalf of the affected families. I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Susan, or not a little bit, a lot. There is an issue with D2, and as I've said from the beginning, that for my area was the most severe, and it continues to be the most severe. I just recently, as of this weekend, had a family reach out to me in Hickam. I have forwarded all of the information to Ernie as well as the EPA. The EPA is getting in contact with the Navy. What is going on is beyond despicable. And if you continue to see these diagrams here, right here was my house. Right here is a park. And if you continue across, this is Ozinuku, which leads into the Hickam airfield. And then what you will find, I have another map that has all of the exceedances as well. And over in this area, these two areas are the most severe. I also have video in this area of them flushing the fire hydrants in this area, this whole section with
Jamie,
just,
hold it up in front of your face.
oh, sorry, with just water. Sorry, not used to presenting this way. Was trying to make it the easiest way possible. What then also becomes concerning is if you come over, if you go down Hickam across the way from Ozinuku, there is You'll start to get hits by the community pool, by the Aloha Tower, and then right in this area is a CDC. You follow it down the back way going towards Mutsu, and you will find even more hits that are in the high 180s, 200s, 133 parts per billion. All of these areas are across from a park or across from a pool. What is also, I found alarming, here's Vickers Park, which is right outside of Mutsu, which is where I would take my kids to wait for their father to get out of work. Right across from Vickers is Boeing. And then if you go down, you're back into the airfield. This is not only concerning for families, but this is concerning because it connects to the Hickam shares their airport with Oahu's airport, which then people have been complaining on those outskirts as well. I could smell the severity out there as well. Mauna Loa Terrace Apartments, I have been getting complaints and families reaching out from there, also saying that they can light their water on fire. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. There is more information that is coming. As Susan said, she's not giving it all, but I just wanted to give you guys a visual of the actual severity and where the hits are coming from. In my neighborhood in Halinokoa, there was 7, and they're all clustered together. And this is not an issue that's going to go away anytime soon. And as I have spoken before, it was at the Doubletree Hilton Hotel the whole time we were there. It was at the Halinokoa. It was at the mall. It was in Pearl Ridge. It was over by the skate park. I can keep listing the areas of where we went. It was all the way out to Schofield, and it was almost all the way out to my church in Kailua that I attended. Something needs to change. This level of 266 is beyond acceptable. It breaks my heart and incenses me and causes me to fight harder every time a family reaches out to me saying that their children are drinking off of the water. There's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of nobody taking accountability, down to the point of Manana being denied and still not on the list, just like they were in 2014. And yesterday was the 10-year anniversary of when I almost lost my life due to the fuel spills 4 weeks after giving birth to my daughter. They knew back then, they know now, and we need to stop it. And I appreciate with everything in my heart and my being of every single person that is standing together and fighting this issue, and you guys standing arm in arm with us, because it doesn't go away. It doesn't get better. And my family is the proof. We're 10, we were there for 10 years. My daughter is 10. And if I listed the symptoms of what she struggles with on a daily basis, it would break your heart. And we need to be thinking of the keiki for generations to come. That's all.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for making time for us today.
Always. Aloha. Thank you.
Okay, folks, moving on to item number 2 for information, recruitment status. Chair recognizes Michelle Thomas. Hello, Michelle.
Good afternoon, Board Chair and board members. My name is Michelle Thomas. I am the Executive Assistant Chief Human Resources Officer for the Board of Water Supply. We'll be presenting the update to the recruitment status for the period of October 2023 to December 2023. For the period of October 2023 to December 2023, we had 10 new hires, 5 promotions, 1 demotion, and 25 separations. You can see that there were a significant number of separations over the last quarter. Those were mostly attributed to retirements over the end of the year, which is usual for this time of year. We are trying to combat that as best as we can by exploring a lot of other opportunities, including hiring additional Ocala interns, which is more than we've done ever in the past. We're also exploring fellowships and working with UH in order for us to be able to try to bring on talent as best as we can and continue our efforts towards a recruitment. In January and February, we will be participating in the city's citywide job fair on January 31st. So anyone who's interested in applying for any positions with the Board of Water Supply should and are welcome to attend. We are also going to be participating in the UH Engineering Job Fair in February 2024. And we are working with the city's Quest program in order to try to bring on additional folks with the Board of Water through the Quest program to bring folks on in our customer service area. With that, this concludes my presentation, and I'm willing to take on any questions that you might have.
Members, any questions? I just have one, Michelle. Is it right? We're at about 29% vacancy?
I don't have the actual vacancy rate information. I'd have to calculate that and get back to you, but it is probably about that amount or so, about a quarter of our positions.
We're tracking about in line with what they're reporting in the news with some of the other agencies for the city and the state.
Correct. We do have quite a few vacancies that are actually very difficult to fill positions. But as far as the positions that are the regular customary positions, we're actually above average. So it's really our vacancies that are related to the really difficult to fill positions.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I know that there's a larger discussion going on with some of those engineering and the like that you just mentioned. So thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, Michelle, thank you so much for your time today. Moving on to item number 3, status of groundwater levels at all index stations. Chair recognizes Barry Usagawa.
Good afternoon, Chair and members.
Aloha.
We have the same 9 index stations in low groundwater condition. For December of 2023, Britannically, Moanalo, Pearl City, Waipahu, Honolulu, and Wailua in caution, and Kamuki and Honolulu remain in alert status. However, the pumpage went down to 126 million gallons per day. So under 130 is good. That's primarily tied to the amount of rainfall that we thankfully experienced in November and December. 131% of normal, bringing up the 5-month moving average to 76%. The National Weather Service is still forecasting below normal precipitation, and they extended it to June 2024. But during this time, most water tables exhibited stable to slightly increasing head levels for December because of the rain and the lower production levels. But we're still recommending that we'll want to increase our conservation messaging leading into this summer. Especially the rains we saw in November and December. This during a pretty strong El Nino year, and then scrolling down to the pumping production levels. You can see it from a high that we reached in August. It trended down all the way through December. That is also attributed to the aggressive conservation messaging and programs that we've been implementing, and thanks to Communications Office for their work, continued work in the conservation area. And I'd just like to mention also that we just increased our rebate for toilets for residential commercial from $45 to $100, doing this as a 90-day period to further incentivize the conversion of the to low to high efficiency toilets in those areas. So that's my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Barry. Members, any questions? Barry, maybe just a comment more than a question. Last time you seemed a little nervous about some of our wells and how many of them were in kind of critical stage. Are you feeling a little better at this point based on all the rainfall and the little uptick in our head levels?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good sign. In fact, some of the chlorides too actually went down a bit. So we'll continue to monitor that. But yeah, when we get into the summer months, with 9 in low groundwater condition, we want to make sure that that doesn't get into any critical levels. So caution alert tends to get our attention and such, forming us to plan for. But we don't want to see it in critical, because that's when we're starting to affect the source and the aquifer. So
Thank you, Barry. We appreciate your time too.
thank you.
Moving on to our last item for information, number 4, water main repair report for December 2023. Chair recognizes Jason Nakaido. Hello, Jason.
Thank you, Board Chair and Board members. The following is the water main repair report for December 2023. In December, we had 37 main breaks, which is closer to average than previous months. To date, we have a total of 249 main breaks, and from the graph at the bottom, you can see that we're trending above average compared to previous years. Next slide. There's a list of the 37 main breaks, primarily on small diameter mains. Next slide. Our leak detection team investigated 42 interests and found 56 leaks. The 56 leaks takes us to 451 total for the year to date, which is higher than previous years. Next slide. Okay, this is a new slide, breaking down the leaks and the main repair by type. So on the left pie chart, you'll see the breakdown of the different categories of satellite leak detection. So of the 56 leaks that our leak detection team found, 4 were on mains, 5 were on service laterals, 1 was a customer side leak, and 46 were coupling leaks in the meter box. And on the right hand pie chart, you see the main break categories type. So of the 37 main breaks, 13 is what we're considering breaks, and 24 are leaks. So the breaks are main breaks where you have damage to the roadway, where the break kind of the hole kind of digs itself. Whereas leaks are ones where typically we have calls where water is on the roadway that we have to investigate and make a determination that it is coming from our main. You have any questions?
Thank you for your time, Jason. We appreciate the additional slides. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have John Kanashiro moving and seconded by Gina Albano. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, can you swing the gavel for us, please? We're adjourned.